off my video.
Welcome into a rainy Independence Day morning. Yes, the 1st of October 2025. Brand new day, brand new month. Happy Independence Day to Nigerians out there, even though I'm not the biggest fan of independence and all that. But still, for those who are strong believers in Independence Day, I feel it probably should be like a national day or something. But anyways, it is what it is. Happy Independence Day to everyone out there at home, wherever it is that you are right now. You are listening to Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station. Ayokunmi right here in the studio, bringing you the best of the best of the best. And it's about that time that we get to talk about the major stories that are making the rounds on the 1st of October. Yes, indeed. Each day brings its own drama here and there, and there's one thing or the other to always talk about. Welcome into another interactive show, and that means that we get to have a back and forth in some way, and that has to do with your messages. So please join us. Send those messages in on WhatsApp and on YouTube as well. The WhatsApp number is 0911 0911 join the live stream on YouTube as well if an audio visual is sort of your thing. Yes, for some people, they just have to watch and listen at the same time. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, joining me at the moment on the show to give his analysis and, of course, break things down for us. Lakunle Yusuf is in the building, even though he's out there on Zoom. Lakunle, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Nigerians. Happy Independence Day for those of us who are incredibly believers of the Nigerian project. Like you said, maybe it's just a commemoration of the day a flag was lowered and another one was raised. But in our minds, are we truly independent? Are we truly celebrating a national day? Let that be what should be on our minds as we enjoy the benefits of the holiday. And let us all commit to move one step towards anything we can do to make Nigeria a better place.
Yes, indeed. All right. Hopefully, Devoe will join us along the way. Probably having some technical issues joining the show, but we'll see if he'll keep up with us at some point. All right, like talking about taking the country forward. An interesting story coming out of the Daily Trust newspaper here. The federal government has unveiled plans to expand annual enrollment of medical students to 20,000. A move aimed at boosting access to medical education and tackling manpower shortages that have been triggered by the Japa trend. Now, luckily, this was a very interesting one because I know that we've talked about this severally, and you have always asked the question, what is the plan in order to increase our capacity? Well, this seems to be an answer. What do you make of it?
Okay, so it is so pleasing that on a day such as this, we're starting with a pleasing story such as this as well. I've done what they call tautology there. I mean, so you can see how much happy I am about this news, that finally we are at least committing ourselves to making a difference in the field of education, specifically in training medical doctors. Okay, so the plan is to raise 20,000, to train 20,000 every year, starting from this academic session. Okay, so what is not clear to me there is whether those 20,000 will be admitted this 25-26 session, and if so, where are the facility where they are going to be admitted? Is it the same facility that was used last academic session that we say is inadequate for the less than 5,000 that all the medical colleges in our institutions train, or it's been built, we don't know yet, or it will be built before they resume in September, October, and November, or that it will be built as they go along? That's step one. Now, two is that, do you know that, okay, so if we start the training of those 20,000 today, the earliest possible time we're going to benefit from that training is in 6 years' time. So what happens between now and that 6 years? What's the plan? And then what is also the plan after that first 6 years? It's not enough to train 20,000 people and then you finish training them highly subsidized and less than 1,000 of them stay back to work here. 19 of them run away. Just 2 days ago, interesting, I was reading a report that said that, before people wait here to do their housemanship, they do their residency before they start thinking of jackpotting, right? Now,
Mm.
the report was saying that straight from medical school after graduation, many of our medical students, graduates, medical doctors leave Nigeria and that they don't even mind going to study another course wherever they have gone. So, what is the plan? The plan has to be total. It's not enough to just train them. So, I'm training them, I'm increasing capacity, I'm increasing this. Okay, so what is that thing that I'm going to do to keep them here? We can't train 20,000 medical doctors for other countries to benefit. We must train them for us to benefit, right? So that's the perspective with which this report does not speak to. As we speak today, all our medical colleges, like I said, don't train up to 5,000 a year. And let's say, give or take, let's be, for lack of evidence data to back it up, let's say half of those numbers live here every year. According to United Nations, we should have one doctor to 200 people. In Nigeria today, we have one to maybe 1,000. So they are
Which is
overworked.
ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous. They are overworked. They are underpaid. The equipment to work is not there. They are brilliant Nigerian doctors. I have met wonderful, brilliant doctors in my short life in this Nigeria. I have some of them as friends. Some of them, they become my friends because of the service they rendered at the time someone I know or me myself needed it. So it is befuddling, therefore, to see that we struggle to present medical doctors in our hospitals. So thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Mr. President, for making this a priority. We hope that those 20,000 would see them in 6 years' time, and at least 80% of the first 20,000 will be opting to stay here because there is work for them to be done here. There's a place for them to do their residency. There's a place for them to be to specialize, and there's enough money to be made being medical doctors in Nigeria.
Most definitely. Thank you for sharing those thoughts there, Lakunle. And just to add to what you said, talking about doctors being overworked, there was also a report that I read where the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, that's NERD, they've directed their members to stop engaging in more than 24 hours of continuous call duty. That's to start from today. That, I believe, is also a very good thing because the way doctors are worked to the bone, it's not good for them and definitely not good for the patients as well. Devoe, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I guess you probably had some technical issues along the way, but hey, you're here now.
Yes. Morning. Can you
Thank you.
hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you now. Yeah. Are you there, Devoe? Seems like it's
Yes.
breaking. Okay. I thought it was breaking in and out, initially, but we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us. And you're just in time because I'm bringing this story to your doorstep now. It's an update from what's been happening with the Dangote Refinery, PENGASSAN, and everything in between from Monday up until this point. This is from this day newspaper. It says that after a conciliation meeting held on Monday and Tuesday, the federal government has brokered peace in the face-off between Dangote Refinery and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. Now, this was in a statement by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Mohammed Megadi Dingyadi, in the early hours of this morning. Now, said after a lengthy discussion, the matter had been resolved. There's a number of resolutions that I don't want to jump into all that. But looking at this, Devoe, I mean, we've talked about peace meetings beforehand. Oh, we've come to an agreement, this and that. Do you think this is going to be the last we'll hear of this at least in the interim, or is this just a temporary measure along the way?
Okay, well, from this story, I think it's from this day.
Right.
I'm not sure they've come to a proper agreement because between the Minister of Labor, who was reconciling Dangote and PENGASSAN, um, in a highlight of what they said was agreed was that one that after lengthy discussion, The minister informed the meeting that unionization is the right of workers in accordance to the law, and that right should be respected. Two, after examining the procedure used in disengaging the workers, the management of Dangote shall immediately start the process of taking the disengaged staff to other companies within the Dangote group with no loss of pay. So this means they're not coming back to the refinery. No worker shall be victimized arising from their role between this impasse. PENGASSAN has also agreed the process of calling off the strikes. Both parties agreed this understanding in good faith. End of story. I'm only going to say that, remember this was what happened with Nupeng a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
One thing that has to be said is, like Ndume said, it's a private company. A lot of people who have said, what does that mean? That Total, Shell, Ajip and Co. are private companies. Yes, they're private, but all of them are currently in a joint venture with the federal government, with NNPC. That's different from this instance. It's just like you have federal schools, state schools, which are public schools, and then you have private schools. The private schools staff are not members of ASU or NASU. They don't join the strikes whenever they're happening. In the medical sector, you have the Medical and Doctors Dental Association. You have the Resident Doctors Association. The strike only takes place and is enforced in public, public primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. Those who are part of private medical organizations and hospitals or clinics do not participate. You also have this issue, like I said, National Teachers Association. Only those who are in public schools participate whenever they down tools. The only issue or gap is that at the moment, Dangote is the only super refinery, okay? If the BUA factory comes on board at 250,000 barrels, he will also be a private refinery operator. So let's get it right. As you can see, it's like an employee cannot tell his employer how he wants to be run. And it's unfortunate that the country has had to suffer this shutdown from the unions. And I'll always say it, and this is where I'll land. These same unions were here when NNPC ran down the 4 refineries that existed. I didn't see them forming Voltron. I didn't see them holding the nation ransom as to how the NNPC was running those. And you can understand why, because they were being paid even though they were not working. Is that justice? That's actually crime. Till date, we've not even found out what they did with the 21 trillion across 20 years that was spent on those refineries.
We're still waiting for answers to that.
Yeah, so literally, these unions that are making noise now are complicits to the stealing of Nigeria's commonwealth. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to tarnish the image. I'm saying this so that people understand. The government, because the government, in quotes, could not be held to account. That was why the government was able to allow that money to be spent without any accounts. That's not the case here. This is someone's private sector effort, meaning he's taking loans. It's not like he even had cash. He's taking loans and he must pay back.
Right.
So I think it's a strong learning point, okay? And the point is, Nigeria has so many people. They'll always find people who they can employ. Maybe they'll have to find or sign some kind of agreement based on the amount spent on them when they send them to India. But the truth is this, we can't continue running our country aground all in the name of a few people. And when I say a few now, I'm no longer discussing the unions. This refinery has gone through too much opposition in terms of why it should exist and how it's changing the status quo. Whether those cabals like it or not, Angel Dangote, who took his investment and gave us this refinery, that refinery has become a national infrastructure, a matter of national security. What we pray the federal government will do is allow other players to grow to that extent so that we can have proper competition, and hopefully we won't see this nonsense happen ever again.
Ideally, we don't want to see this ever happen again, but this is Nigeria. Can we guarantee it won't? Now, that is the million-dollar question. All right, send your messages into us on WhatsApp.
Quick one.
All right,
quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, so my opinion, like I always say, I've never believed in strikes. It does not solve any problem. Okay, because when you go on strike, or after all the damages, all of you still come back and sit at the table. I think that they should do that. They should have that conversation. I also do not believe that, according to what we say about freedom of right, freedom of association, the Dangote Refinery as a corporate individual has a right to choose who he wants to associate with according to our laws. Just the same way the employees have a right to choose who they want to associate with. And if at some point your association and my association does not agree, we should be able to agree to disagree and disagree to agree and go our separate ways without putting the lives of non-interested parties in our different interests into jeopardy, because that's what they are doing with all these that strike. And again, some people refer to the military era that they shut down this, shut down that. But the truth was that because we were all angry and tired with the military involvement in politics, we looked over the illegality of the shutting down of these things. And I think, again, we need to start desensitizing ourselves of this our military mentality about burn it, shut it down, close it down, arrest it, kill it. That is in our heads. Until we get to that point, all these arguments about because I don't have my way, it's either my way or the highway, then we must close it down, we must burn it, we must seize it, we must whatever. And that's why I think PENGASSAN will probably not win this war, or rather this battle.
Let us see how this all plays out. Anyways, Lakunle, just hold on to that thought because we're stepping into the punch right now. Let's talk about rent, or should I say the rent crisis, because the Nigerian housing market is facing one of its toughest periods in recent history, as the median rent for a two-bedroom apartment in many parts of the country has climbed to about 2.5 million naira annually. Now, this is according to findings by the Punch. Now, this figure represents a sharp rise compared to what was obtainable a few years ago, and it highlights the deepening affordability crisis confronting millions of Nigerians from Lagos to Kano, Ibadan, Port Harcourt. Tenants are feeling the squeeze of rapidly escalating rents, and this is a big problem.
Ayo, I want all our listeners today to try find these reports in the Punch and read it themselves so that they can. There's nothing we're going to say here that's going to be enough in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 30 minutes to cover what that report is trying to tell us. Okay, so I know of someone in Lagos, our Lagos, whose rent last year was 800,000 naira. The landlord is asking for 4 million naira this year. Guess what? This landlord is from one of the richest traditional Lagos families. I am telling you, from 800 to 4 million. And because the house is located in a place where it has easy access to the rest of Lagos, that's just it. So having said that, that's just a starter for people to know that is how bad these things we are talking about is. Now, let's move a little bit away from that. Let's look at the cost of building a house today. I buy the land, I go to Lagos. I'm using Lagos as an example because that's where I'm very familiar with. I go to the Lagos Ministry of Lands. I pay, depending on the location, I pay some huge amount for what's it called? CFO, to get the CFO. I pay for survey. I go to Lagos State Building Testing Agency, I pay, I go to town planning or whatever. There are at least like 5 or 6 different agencies that I will go to get different licenses to be able to build a house. Then let's go to the cost of building materials itself. Cement jumped from 1,500 to 2,500. Now it's about 11,000 naira per bag, right? So when I finish building the house, now I now say that, do I want to live inside? I want to use it for business. And then it is from the process of the rent that I will take care of all my other expenses. I have to pay school fees. School fees increases every month and so on and so forth. That's another part we're going to look at. Then let's go to the government part. Government is supposed to be the one setting the pace in a lot of things, make policies for people to be able to see business opportunities and thrive. But here we are, government is supposed to lead in this thing. Nigeria has a housing deficit of about 25 million houses, I think. I can't remember the exact number, some huge number like that. Now, we know that individuals can never meet that number. As I'm speaking to you right now, I'm in one estate in one of Nigeria's prime cities. And on every street, 10 of every 15 houses on every street is vacant because the price they placed on it. Now, imagine that government leads these buildings and they do rent to own or rent to own over a lifetime, like they do in Britain, what they call council flats in the United Kingdom, for example. And the prices are cheap, right? But look at the houses government build in Nigeria. You hear the numbers they call for you to come and buy these houses and they say it is cheap. And then you ask yourself, a director in the ministry on a salary, can he afford this? I'm not even talking of minimum wage. I'm talking of director in the ministry.
And those are the higher echelons.
Exactly. Can he afford the cost government is calling the houses it's built itself? Let's even look at that point. So as long as there is housing deficit up to this number we are talking about, people will demand for housing based on what is available. And landlords, owners will charge based on what the people that are asking are ready to pay. So that is what it is in the capitalist, whatever of it that it is. Now, what do we do? Again, we go back to government. Can, for example, Lagos State collapse all these agencies into one? I just pay only one fee, which is manageable. Not that I'll pay 5 different fees. Can we then begin to think for Lagos, for example, where we are limited by land, if we still continue to build houses? I know there are a lot of demolitions are going on now because people have built on wetlands and all that. Can we then begin to think building high rises rather than building bungalows and 2-bedroom flats and, in quotes, luxury flats that everybody builds all over the place? Can we begin to make rent to own long-term mortgages, not the one you say pay 30% now, 100 million naira house, pay 30% now, pay the remaining over 6 months? That is not a mortgage. A mortgage is a minimum of 10 years and above. Can we begin to have those kind of facilities available? Even the one that Federal Mortgage Bank has right now, the process for you to be able to access it, it's a problem on its own. Not to talk of people are not even knowledgeable or they don't have enough information about it. So those people who have information about it should reach out and give people this information. If we don't do some of these things, we know we should do them. Some of them are in place. If we don't do them, we will come back here next year and we hear that a 2-bedroom flat is 40 million per annum.
I didn't want to think about that sort of eventuality, because how? I mean, 800,000 to 4 million. That is, I don't even know where to begin. And what people are actually supposed to do. Is the money supposed to fall from heaven? I really don't understand at this point in time. Gilbert Musa on WhatsApp.
Quickly. Yep. And that is why we say we are fighting corruption. Who would never win that battle? Because if I live in a house, I pay 2 million this year, and my landlord comes back next and says 5 million. I must find that 3 million from somewhere. Where will I find it?
Unless you want to, leave unless you want to leave that house and go and find something that is a little less desirable. Because the truth is, even those houses at those price points are not even, should I say, at the higher levels of decency. For just a moderately decent sort of accommodation, you're already paying premium for it. So just imagine higher level luxury in quotes, and I use that very, very loosely. Anyways, back to the message here. Gilbert Musa in Festac says, we commend the approach to increase the numbers of medical doctors, but first things first, the existing university teaching hospitals have degenerated to the extent that it currently serves as a disincentive for students to study medicine efficiently. Also, has the government addressed the subject matter of resident doctors' continuous strikes? Another good question. I mean, these are the issues that we deal with each and every single time. Strikes today, strikes tomorrow, and so on and so forth. All right, let's jump really quickly into this story here in The Guardian. And of course, it's Independence Day, so we just need to talk about issues surrounding that very quickly here, Devoe. President Bola Tinubu has declared that Nigeria is emerging from its most difficult economic period in recent history, insisting that the bold reforms introduced by his administration are now producing measurable results across key sectors. Because of time, Devoe, I'll just let you sink your teeth into this one and give us a bit of clarity.
This should have been the first story, but that we're taking it last is almost synonymous with the way the country feels about this independence. We're 65 years and we're still crawling. I'm sure if you put the TV on, you will hear the president reeling over some of the facts that are in this article. And basically, Nigerians are kind of tired of growing pains. Because growing pains all has to do with when are we going to walk? When is it going to be okay? Some of the statistics that he's put in this report are his way of saying that we have reached a turning point. But beyond all these statistics, even if Nigeria is getting it right in macroeconomics, the problem is the statistics will never shield the reality that you and I, Nigerians, face in living. Just like an election, we would ask are we better off today than we were since this administration took over? And the whole point is not just because it's about the federal government. In our states, have our state governments actually moved forward? And I dare say that I don't know how to say that the quality of democracy in this country is what has most suffered. We're not able to get proper representation from our National Assembly. What we have is a rubber stamp. At the state level, state assemblies are they're pocketed by the governors. And what that means is that as we see most institutions of states being compromised, like the police, the security architecture, Nigerians find it difficult holding the government accountable. So more or less, we're being force-fed, which is what you see with all these statistics. You've done a little, and that's what you want to just say because of this little. Nigerians should keep holding on. There are many Nigerians that are not alive today because of the harshness, or in one instance where Nigeria failed them to be able to see this 65th anniversary. I know it's not just about being negative, that we should be able to say something positive.
Definitely.
But you see, this administration can do better. They have what it takes. They have what it takes to actually to get Nigeria into a far better standard of living than we have reached. The whole idea behind being elected was to strengthen democracy so that our interests are put forward. But these days, the only people we see benefiting or enjoying are generally those who have some level of government patronage or the other. And that's not how it's supposed to be. People should be able to live their lives without knowing anybody in government. People should be able to move from one part of the country to another without fear that they would not be tolerated. So there's not enough time, Ayo. There's so many infractions on government that we just cannot continue like this. I don't have a lot of power today to be able to scream and shout because that's what is required on a day like this. However, what I would say is that we're not going to give up. I know not much is there to encourage Nigerians, but the same way we form Voltron or bandy together anytime the Super Eagles are playing, okay? That's the same spirit that is required to actually break all the opposition, all the challenges that we're facing as a nation. Whenever we come together, forgetting what religion we're at, what ethnicity we are from, like we do when the Super Eagles go to play, that is the Nigerian spirit, literally, that will take us from this, level of management, 4% GDP, whereas we should be at double digits, into where we should be as a thriving nation. I really believe if Nigeria gives it its best shot, that it can actually come out of all of this. And politicians will not have to be washing Nigerians with statistics just to get, make it look good. What we want is that justice should actually be the name of the game indeed amongst Nigerians, okay? And not that just those who have money. There's much to be said, Ewa. We can't say everything, honestly. But it hurts me that at 65, we're still crawling like babies who were born yesterday.
It's rather unfortunate. I mean, this particular topic, it's something similar to the rent story. We can go on and on and on and on about it, but unfortunately, time isn't our friend in that regard. Luckily, do you have a word or two to add to this before we wrap it up on the show?
Okay, Ayo, the last story that we're unable to take at this point, one, we cannot ignore that it has happened. The spate of armed robberies being reported all over the place in Abuja recorded one of its casualties that has caught national attention. I commiserate with the staff, management, and people of Arise News, with the family of Somto Chukwu, and I think that this is part again that we need to talk about our security apparatus. We are so much when we cannot even take care of the security of the urban places, so much more the large swatches of ungoverned lands within our country, right? And I think that this is the point that we need to do something different about our policing. Nigeria is 65. These are not the kind of stories we should be talking about. We should have packed the solution to security issues in this country. It is not rocket science to do. We know what to do. Maybe it's the political will now we need to be able to do them. And I hope that Mr. President or his advisors, if they are hearing us or listening to us this morning, should help us to stem this trend and keep us safe.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Lakunle. Let me just rush through messages here. Emeka says, Devoe, our president didn't promise good life to Nigerians, but he said it's his turn. Okay. Those are your thoughts. This is Don Kelvin, who says, it's amazing how many institutions have unraveled under this particular government. Nothing seems to be working. And on YouTube, Eugene says, thank you so much. Speak the truth about where these so-called unions, when the 4 refineries were up. Okay, that's in reaction to the story about PENGASSAN and, of course, the Dangote Refinery. Cisco Delgado says, okay, good morning. Okay, good morning to you, Cisco. Happy Independence Day celebration to you as well. And it says, at 65 years, Nigeria is not a small picking. That is true. Charles Infestack says, I personally don't think that Nigeria is structured to survive. A country that discourages quality leaders for quacks. Now is not the time to have this conversation. It's a lengthy sort of thing to talk about. Definitely not now. But thank you all so much for the messages. And always hold on to the faith and keep on keeping on. That is very important. Big thank you to you, Lakunle, and of course, Devoe, for joining me this morning. Always a pleasure. Lakunle.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. We'll go and reflect on the states where our country is today. Let us all reflect and let us make ourselves that promise that we will be part of those who contribute to its good and not its failure.
Yes, indeed. All right, Devoe.
Cool, 65 years to the old man called Nigeria.
Guy, we are not old though. We are still babies.
And on that note, we need to wrap it up. Thank you all once again for keeping it tuned to Freshly Pressed and to Smooth 98.1. Keep it tuned. It's going to be the sporting side of life in the locker room at 8.